Well, welcome back to New York Sports Wicker Media. I am Wat2K99. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me. So, just to remind you, Wednesday night I'm going to be with Jeremy from Jets Chaos. We do our 10 p.m. show. Thursday night I'm on with Green Bean and Frankie from Flatbush doing some Jets trivia. Check it out. And of course, there's always new content coming out several days a week, whether it's Mets, Jets, Rangers, whatever else might be going on. If anybody wants me to do some Knicks or some Yankees or something else, let me know. And if it's worth talking about, we'll certainly get into it. So tell me what you want me to talk about. If you have any hot takes, if you have any questions for me, throw them at the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. So what I wanted to do on this video is dig a little bit deeper into the Flight 2022 series. So it premiered last Thursday. Green Bean, Frankie from Flatbush, Jeremy, and I did a live watch party along with a bunch of people in Green Bean's chat. And so we were kind of chatting with each other a little bit while watching the video. I wanted to go back and watch the whole series again, all 5 episodes, and take a look at what may have been missed the first time. You know, we're all talking about how Mike LaFleur likes to overcook his salmon. I could tell he didn't overcook the salmon; it was just blackened seasoning. It was he used a meat thermometer. I don't believe it was overcooked. But episode 4 is the one that we were all talking about with the draft reactions, the draft process, JD working the phones, all this cool stuff, right? But I thought maybe there's some more in there. Let's go back and watch one more time and see what else might have been said or might have showed up on screen that maybe if you're just watching it, just watching it for the first time, after about hour 4, some of us started to fade out a little bit. So, in episode 1, I liked what Phil Savage said. It's something that we as Jets fans have been saying, but Savage said it himself. Everything that Joe Douglas has been doing for the last 3 years really has been pointing to this off season, the 21-22 off season. All the draft picks, all the trades that were made, everything that went down, it was all about building cap space and acquiring draft capital, in part for last season, but especially for this season. I was glad to see that they said it too, and I'm glad that Joe Douglas, as a first-time GM, has guys like Phil Savage, like Rex Hogan, to help guide him in those types of situations. Whenever something might come up, he has some good experience in the room. And JD has plenty of experience himself, but it is his first time as a general manager, and that's a situation where you're going to have all kinds of situations that you may never have dealt with before. So, also, I thought Mike LaFleur, he said a lot of very interesting things. I'm glad this was a chance we had to get to know who he is as a person a little bit better. He said that the Senior Bowl is bigger than the Combine, and it was so true because the Jets have never had this opportunity to coach a Senior Bowl, and they really had a chance to not just interview these guys like you would at a Combine, where you might only get 10 or 15 minutes with them, and these guys are putting on their bravest face. They're giving these coaches and these staff members the answers they think they want to hear, that they think they want to hear. But when you're with these guys for 4, 5, 6 days, and you're drilling them, seeing them go after in practice, you start to see adversity. You start to see how these guys are going to react when they're tired, when they're under pressure, when stress is coming down on their shoulders. How do they react in those times? That's when you start to figure out if a player is somebody who's going to fit into your organization and on your team. So I'm glad LaFleur acknowledged that. Coach Mike Rutenberg. He's our linebackers coach, and I got to tell you, when I first saw this guy, I thought Adam Gase had made a comeback. He had the same beard, the same kind of face. I just didn't see the big googly eyes coming out. And I feel bad for him. You know, he talks about the linebackers bring the juice. Everything goes through the linebackers. Well, I think the coach is still waiting for Joe Douglas to get him a linebacker somewhere along the way. I can only imagine what's going through his mind right now as the Jets were killing this draft, making all these good moves in free agency. It seems like almost every position was getting addressed or had depth acquired except for linebacker. Unless we're excited about Marcel Harris. I know Tigo appreciates that. So. But, yeah, I really wonder how Rutenberg feels right about now. And Jay Mandolisi, of course, from Cary, North Carolina, the great town of Cary, North Carolina, uh, he did acknowledge something that I think we've all thought for a while, that Joe Douglas and Robert Sala do a great job, an outstanding job was the word he used, telling scouts what they want. I think for a long time we thought we had some disconnect, but I don't think we really found out about till later with Idzik and Rex, then McCagnon and Todd Bowles, then McCagnon and Adam Gase for the few months that it did go on. I think we got so used to to disconnect and hoping that somehow things would work out, but we didn't have the confidence in the organization that it was fitting going forward. Now it's not just the GM and the coach; it's more than that. It's the scouting staff, it's the front office, it's the people who work in Florham Park, and when all those units are meshing together and working together, it makes things that much more attainable. It makes your goals that much more realistic to accomplish. In episode two, I just got one question in the trailer. What was the curveball? What was the curve? The trailer of episode two was the Jets player personnel, pro player personnel, Joe Douglas, Robert Sala as well, talking about Laken Tomlinson. And then Joe says, "What if I throw you a curve?" And then it goes straight to the open. So we never got paid off on exactly what that curve was. So I'm still wondering what that story was. Episode three. So this is when you started to get into free agency a little bit. You saw John Benton, our offensive line coach, meet Laken Tomlinson when Tomlinson arrived in Florham Park. Gave him a big hug. He was all pumped up, and I started thinking to myself, "Where's Ron Middleton? Can we get Ron Middleton to meet, C.J. Uzoma and Ty Conklin? I would have loved to have been there for that reaction when he gave them a couple of bro hugs. I would love to know what that first conversation was that Ron Middleton had with Uzoma and Conklin. And hey, later Jeremy Ruckert after they drafted Jeremy Ruckert. I would have loved to have been on that conversation. And DJ Reed, another thing was DJ Reed. Now, I admit DJ Reed was a name I barely knew before the Jets signed him. And they're going through a clip on the show where they're asking these players to define who they are, describe what kind of player they are. And DJ Reed, to me, had an amazing quote that I don't think anybody else has really focused on. He said, "I'm a complete monster, but strategic." This is a 5'9" cornerback saying this, ladies and gentlemen. Complete monster, but strategic. I think a complete monster, I'm thinking it's a lineman, it's a linebacker, something like that. But this is a 5'9" quarterback. He's 5'9", but he plays like he's 6'9". But it's not. But so he's using his physical and his mental faculties to be the absolute best player that he can be. He knows what he could do. He believes in himself. And DJ Reed strikes me as a guy who's completely ready to be a Jet and to prove to people how good he is. I think he wants to have his name known. And let's see him go do it. Jacob Martins was another guy I didn't know, the pass rushing defensive lineman from the Houston Texans. And he said, "Joe Douglas and Robert Sala will lead this place to be something great for sure." Those were the words he used. Martin came off so articulate and so enthusiastic. Measured, but you could tell the energy, the way that he spoke, the pitch of his voice. I could tell these guys, these free agents, they all wanted to be Jets. And watching them only hammered that nail that much harder home for me. Episode 4 is the one that everybody was talking about. This was the draft. When the Jets staff was scouting Jermaine Johnson, he was compared to Cam Jordan in terms of his pass rushing. And so I went back and looked at Cam Jordan's career with the New Orleans Saints. 11 seasons, 0 games missed. That's right, no games missed in 11 years. 107 sacks, 384 solo tackles, 137 tackles for a loss, and 206 hits on the quarterback. Yes, please sign me up. Please sign me up for Cam Jordan's career if that's what Jermaine Johnson can provide. And one of Joe Douglas's best quotes also came from episode 4, and it's something that Ozzie Newsome said to him back when they were in Baltimore together. "A luxury today can be a necessity tomorrow." I'm seeing a lot of Jets fans, a few Jets fans, who are talking about trading this guy, trading that guy to get more draft capital or to build up depth at another position. You know what? We have depth now positions like wide receiver, interior offensive line, defensive line, cornerback. Why are we talking about trading a Bryce Hall or somebody like that? I've seen people wanting to trade Bryce Hall. You know, Denzel Mims, you can make a little bit more of an argument for that. I can get the point there because he may just need a fresh start. But with some of these players, it just doesn't make sense to me why we're looking to get rid of them because we know as just fans, injuries happen, or sometimes somebody's game goes to hell, or they're just not the right fit on this team. So if you have depth at a certain position, take advantage of it, exploit it. Why would you just trade away depth just for a mid to lower round lottery ticket next season? So to me, it just doesn't make sense. Trades are not as common in the NFL as they are with other sports. And for me, let's just hold off on the trade talk for a little while. Okay. And finally, with episode 5, there's two different things that I saw here. One was from the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich. One was from the offensive coordinator, again, Mike LaFleur. Ulbrich admitted at the very beginning of the episode he didn't adapt his scheme to his players as well as he could have. A lot of people are still down on Jeff Ulbrich. Some are very hesitant to believe in him. I'm still going to say jury's out on him because he really had almost no legitimate talent to work with. Very, very, very little. But I was glad that he said this because it shows me he's willing to adjust now like Mike LaFleur was midway through last season. Last season, Mike LaFleur realized that the 12 personnel was not going to work. He did not have the tight ends to run that type of a scheme. He started to adjust, and the offense slowly but surely began to get a little bit better over the season. It wasn't a great offense last year by any stretch, but it got better because he used the strengths of his players. And the other thing about LaFleur that he said was when he was talking about Garrett Wilson. I've heard a lot of people with Garrett Wilson in these scouting reports. They talk about his route running, his separation, his footwork, his ability to make catches outside his catch radius, all kinds of things like that. But one trait that I haven't heard people talk about as much is his fearlessness. So LaFleur breaks down a clip where Wilson is lined up in the slot towards the quarterback's right side it was. So he starts up right, and then he cuts across. He makes a slant over towards the middle of the field where there's two safeties waiting for him. Wilson makes the catch, and about 2 strides from the safety who's coming on to hit him. Wilson still goes all out for the ball and still makes the catch and is able to hold on to the ball. So he has that mentality that you want from a wide receiver, somebody who is tenacious, somebody who's not afraid to take chances, somebody who will fight for a loose ball, somebody who can get a contested catch away from a very good defensive back. That makes me that much more excited about Garrett Wilson. Oh, and as we're recording this, Zach Wilson's eggs are just about done as of now. By the way, the egg thing was only on for about 1:45. Okay, my eggs take it takes me about 3 minutes 15 seconds to cook eggs myself, and I like them about medium-ish or scrambled. So, yeah, so it wasn't like 11 or 12 minutes. I think Zach, I don't know, I'm not too worried about his ability to cook eggs, but I think that did get a little bit overblown. So those are just some additional thoughts on Flight. What were some of your observations? Do you have any comments about anything that I said here? So I'll be back soon with some more content here on New York Sports Wicker Media, broadcasting live from the Wicker Chair.